Good afternoon. Call the meeting of the Capital Improvement Street Maintenance Committee. Good afternoon. Call the meeting of the Capital Improvement Street Maintenance Committee of the City of Wausau to order this Thursday, June 13th, 2019 at 5:30 p.m. First item on the agenda is, of course, always public comment for matters not appearing on the agenda. Hearing no one come forward or seeing no one come forward, we will move then on to the second item on the agenda, which is the approval of the minutes of the May 15th, 2019 meeting. A motion to approve would be in order. There is a motion by Mary. Is there a second? There's a second by Karen. Any further comments or questions with regard to the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor of said motions to approve the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is agreed to, and the minutes of May 15, 2019 are approved. Moving then on to public hearing, discussion and possible action regarding vacating and discontinuing an alley bounded by Westbridge Street, Quaw Street, North 1st Avenue, and North 2nd Avenue. This is a public hearing. Seeing no one come forward for the public hearing, is there any comments with regard to this from staff and or the committee? Mary?
Thank you, Gary. I had started the conversation before the meeting started with Eric Lindman. My question for him was vacating the alley for the third agenda item here. I asked to see if this was part of the car wash opportunity, and he had shared yes. I didn't realize that they had bought out all the parcels or the land, or the properties here, so my fault for not reviewing that carefully in the city council meeting packet in April, I believe. So, Eric, you had shared that the property at 621 and 624, they are not willing to sell their property to the business that's going to be building the car wash there. So are we vacating the alley for that entire map that I'm looking at here from Quaw Street all the way to Westbridge Street?
Yes, that is correct.
So for the owners that live at 621 and 624, will they still be able to have, do they even use that access right now today? Is there a garage or anything back there? I don't see anything.
No, they don't use it. We did have the one comment in the packet from a Jerry Galkey at 624. In his comments, he says, I may consider putting up a garage near the alley location. That added entrance option is very desirable, but currently there's neither of those homes.
Okay.
That alley.
In the future, if the homeowners do decide to put a garage back there or a shed or whatever it may be, what type of access would they be available to?
Go ahead.
Alan?
They would just have to put a driveway in to get to the, they would be allowed to put another driveway in to get to a garage.
Okay, thank you. That answers all my questions.
But there would be no further alley as such between those, because would it be that the property thus half would go to each property owner for that,
Yeah.
on that?
That's correct. And
Okay, say that again.
So the alley on that portion, half of it goes back to each of the property owners. So it'll be split, so it's 16 feet. 8 feet will go to the people on the west, the other 8 will go to the people on the east.
Okay,
And then if they wanted to put a garage back there, then they could run their driveway out to Quaw Street, to access. So the driveway wouldn't turn then towards where the alley is now. It would potentially turn towards Quaw Street.
okay. I just want to make sure, I'm a visual person, so I'm just going to
Sure.
finger through this. So what you're saying is, this property right here, 8 feet's going this way, 8 feet's going that way, back to the owners, and if they build in a garage on either side over here, it will come up this way instead of into the back?
Yeah, they would have the option to have a driveway come out to Quaw Street.
Okay.
Okay.
Lisa?
That was my same question, was given that they're corner lots, if they would be allowed to have a driveway on Quaw if they decide to ever build a garage or anything, and if they can, then I'm fine with the vacation. They're getting half of the land on each side anyway, so.
Yeah.
Hearing no further comments by staff or committee, a motion to approve would be, approve the vacation would be in order.
So moved.
There's a motion by Lisa. Is there a second? There's a second by Mary. Any further comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, said motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is agreed to, and the vacation is thus approved. Moving then on to the next item on the agenda, which is a public hearing, discussion, possible action regarding vacating and discontinuing North 2nd Street south of Short Street. Seeing no one come forward for a public hearing, comment from staff or from the committee? Hearing none, a motion to approve the vacation would be in order. Karen's motion to approve the vacation,
Yep, I'll second.
and Lisa's second to the vacation. Any further comments or questions with regard to the motion?
Gary, I just have one more clarification question. I'm really sorry, everyone. This is where we have the blanker construction, the homes going in, right?
Yes.
Okay,
That's
all right.
correct.
Thank you.
Yes, they anticipate the Short Street, south of Short Street, that stretch of land there.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. A motion has been made. Motion is second. All in favor of said motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is agreed to, and thus the committee approves the recommend approval of the vacation of that part of discontinuing North 2nd Street south of Short Street. Moving then on to discussion, possible action on the stormwater maintenance agreement for the Kusurik Subaru at 2625 North 20th Avenue. TJ, I believe, has this one?
Yep. This is our standard maintenance agreement. We already have one in place for this property. However, they are putting in a new building and new stormwater features and changing the pond, so we will be creating a new agreement. That's it, unless there's any other questions.
Any comments or questions from committee?
No, move to approve.
Lisa's motion to approve. Is there a second? Mary has a second on the approval of the stormwater maintenance agreement. All in favor, said motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is agreed to, and thus the stormwater maintenance agreement for Kuchurik Subaru at 2625 North 20th Avenue is approved. Moving then on to discussion, possible action on no parking on the north side of East Wausau Avenue at North 5th Street. Alan has this one. Yes, Alan.
This is just kind of a cleanup thing. Last month, you approved the drop-off zone, which is in green on the map. When Tara Alfonso, the assistant city attorney, went to write the ordinance or for council, she noticed that actually the no parking as it's designated says it ends at the 500 block. So technically it ends at 508 with the addressing the way it works. So there's the red that I show in there is like a no man's land. So technically she said if somebody parks there, she wouldn't be able to enforce it. So what this will do is just create no parking in the red area, which is basically from the end of the 500 block to the point where you approve the drop-off zone.
Any comments or questions? Otherwise, a motion to approve the no parking restrictions as shown on the map would be in order. Is there a motion, Karen, as the first? Is there a second? Becky's second to the motion. Any further comments or questions? All in favor of said motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is agreed to, and thus the no parking on the north side of East Wausau Avenue at North 5th Street. Moving then on to discussion, possible action on a preliminary resolution to hold a public hearing to vacate the public right-of-way between 1 Menard Plaza and 16 Menard Plaza. Alan, any comments with regard to this?
Menards is trying to sell this parcel, and they want to combine the lot into one. When they were doing their research, they found that there's still an old right-of-way in there in the yellow, so they just want to go through the process to vacate it so they can sell that whole parcel as one lot for development. I'd recommend we set that public hearing.
Okay. Motion to set the public hearing would be in order. Karen has the motion. Is there a second? We'll need a second to the motion. Well, Lisa has the second to the motion to resolution to hold a public hearing. Any further comments or questions? Yes?
I do have a question. I know where Menards is at. It was really hard for me to examine the map here.
Is this the old Menards?
This is,
Menards, I think.
okay, this is the,
The right side or the left? I got the voted this way.
okay, so that entire vacated property that's across the street from Menards, right?
Correct, to be straight east of Menards.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to figure out where that highlighted yellow, is that the entrance like going into that land?
There's no entrance there now. That's quite a drop off there. So
Okay.
there's really no place that we would, or we would need that right away.
So they're looking to develop this property?
They're looking to sell it so
To sell
somebody
it?
can develop, yeah.
Okay. All right, I'll just have to drive by and kind of visualize everything. Thank you.
Okay, there has been a motion and a second made on this. So any further comments or questions here?
For
I'm
the
sorry.
public, I guess for the public hearing, I can have a larger map with an aerial that shows exactly where this is, so if that helps for the public hearing.
And just to further identify the Stewart Avenue and the 28th Avenue, just, right, that's so.
Yeah, that's it. That's how it's good.
Okay, all in favor, said motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is agreed to, and we will set a public hearing on that. Moving on to item number 8, on the agenda, it's construction update for 2019 projects. You have a handout on that this evening. Any comments?
I could just
Any
give a-
highlights, Alan?
Yeah, I can just give a couple quick updates on the top three, I guess, the Town Line, the First Avenue, and the Thomas Street. Town Line is going good. They got out of the Grand Avenue intersection. They got that back open to all the lanes on Grand Avenue. They're going to continue work between Grand Avenue and basically the railroad tracks or 10th Street. The intent is to get that pretty much done by the July 4th weekend so they can hook up Kraft. Kraft has like a shutdown over 4th of July week, so then they're going to work that week to get Kraft, that basically all the utilities in front of Kraft hooked up and keep Kraft in business. So that's going well. First Avenue, it's just getting started. They removed the pavement, and they're going to start they're hooking up temporary water now to all the residents, and they're going to start doing sewer and water next week. That's when the underground utilities will start. Thomas Street has been going on. They've been doing a lot. They got a couple crews out there. They're doing the borings underneath the railroad tracks today, and they're just going to continue with sewer and water. So that's actually going good too. The other projects, our local project, 7th Avenue, is nearing completion of the underground utilities. They'll be hooking up sewer and water laterals next week, and then start building the road. Of note, probably some other interest, we're out on West Wausau Avenue doing some sewer out there. And the Riverfront project, River Drive is closed for probably another 2 weeks. They're going to wrap that up. We have a final walkthrough next week. And then we're going to be installing a water main next week along the railroad there. And then that project should be wrapping up shortly.
Any comments or questions with regard to the construction projects?
I have a question. I was at our Southwest Jones monthly neighborhood meeting last month, and one of the questions that was asked of me was to look into whether Sherman Street can vacate temporarily parking on both sides. They had mentioned that the first phase of the Thomas Street reconstruction, that there were opportunities to vacate parking on both sides because, the use of, with the detours and stuff like that. They had asked me to see if that could be an opportunity for Sherman Street. I think we talked about this like in one of our CISM meetings, I think someone brought it up, but I'm just sharing what constituents are asking me at our kind of town hall meetings. And so I'd just like to hear, Alan, to see if is that an option for Sherman Street? Because I work from home 2 days out of the week, Thursdays and Fridays, and the rest of the days I'm in Marshfield. But today and last week, I mean, those 3M trucks, they go by quite frequently, going back and forth. And I know that there's been more traffic on Sherman too. So is that an option? I'm not saying that we should do that. I'm just asking on behalf of citizens that has asked me.
We've been asked to look at no parking on several different streets. We're kind of gonna, at this point, we're gonna see how traffic reacts to the closures, because First Avenue just closed down. There's always negatives and positives, I guess. If we eliminate parking, we'll probably increase speed. So.
Oh, I get what you mean.
Yeah, so I think, I don't know. I have not been out there to see the 3M trucks running this week, so I think we're open to it. I think Eric may have some comments on that too, but we're open to looking at stuff like that, yes.
Yeah, we do get a lot of requests. I think one of the biggest things that we look at is, when like Sherman, which is getting to trucks, how are their movements working? Can they get through? And we do get a lot of complaints, that some people have to pull over, wait for them to go, and then they can go. But as Alan said, if we could target some areas to make sure the trucks get through okay. But I think just to eliminate parking along long stretches of roadways, we typically in the past have gotten then complaints on speed.
Okay.
And so it's kind of a catch-22, I mean, we're open to it. Like Alan said, if people will be patient for a couple of weeks, we'll kind of see how the traffic flows and how things, if we continually get complaints or requests for that, if there's an overwhelming, we can certainly take a look at it. I think really anything's open, and we're willing to take a look at it, Mary, so.
I think I'll reach out to 3M too to see how they have not complained to me that the trucks have had problems getting through on Sherman. But I can check with them to see how their truck drivers are reacting, if they're having issues. Maybe we can eliminate parking on one side instead of both as an alternate.
Yeah. And certainly, that's why I said earlier, I'm not pushing for the no parking on both sides. I'm kind of in the middle, because I do know that there's barely any parking for residents who are in District 10 there. So I'm not leaning any way, but certainly I have my meeting next Monday, and I'd like to go back to them and at least share the comments and the feedback that I've received from all of you. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Any further comments?
I
Yes,
have
Lisa.
one. As we're watching the detours kind of get underway and function, I think after the Facebook post from the police department and the newscast, I think people have finally, hopefully, gotten the message about obeying the road closed signs down on Thomas. That was interesting. But Dennis Smith, Alderman Dennis Smith, contacted me last week, and he had some concerns, which I had forwarded to Eric and Cord. One thing we need to be watching, because we're always trying to watch detour speed. We talked about it on Sherman, and we talked about it on Buff, now that we've got that in play. He's getting complaints from folks on Stewart Avenue that live on Stewart Avenue about the increased traffic volume and its speed. One of those residents was looking for a short-term speed adjustment during the construction. Given that that's a connecting highway and it's built for 35 miles an hour, I don't know that that's feasible, but, I think he also wanted to keep on the radar some of that enforcement. And I think this week complaints were starting to come in at 11th and Buff near Colby. People are running that stop sign. And so with the increased traffic and then that happening, I think all of it could be solved with probably targeted enforcement. I don't think we need any permanent changes. But the other thing that he's concerned about and his residents remain concerned about, I think Bike and Ped is working on it based on what I've heard from Cord. They are still interested in a pedestrian bridge at 12th and Stewart. And I think when we looked at it before, we figured out that to meet ADA and clear trucks underneath, that bridge on both sides would have to be insanely long. And so it wasn't feasible the last time we looked at it, but they're still looking for something better for pedestrians, not just during the fair, but when school's on, because when John Muir lets out, the kids all run to the park and the parents are waiting for them there. So as Bike and Ped considers that, I think if there's changes that we can make without an act of Congress from the DOT to get it done, that we should consider some of that, because that whole situation in play there near John Muir and, whether the fair is going on or not is really not optimal. So we should keep that on our radar. But during the construction, we need to also watch that Stewart Avenue speed, because apparently it's as bad as Buff and Sherman. So.
Moving then on to future agenda items, I also talked to Mr. Smith, and I think that in talking to staff, engineering staff, I think we'll put that on the agenda for next month. Because I know that there's some concerns coming from the residents, and at least we should listen, see what they're having to say. And Mr. Smith has agreed that if we take a look at it next month, we will try to at least start some kind of a dialogue and some kind of a discussion, some kind of a study about what we should be doing. Because the John Muir issue with Stone's Crossing, there's just a lot of moving parts over there, and I think we should formally take a look. So we'll have that on the agenda for next month.
That's a good idea. I think he'll appreciate that. Maybe we should make sure that we invite him and his residents so they know, because they're not normally here.
We will certainly talk to Mr. Smith.
I think there's some long-term fixes that we really have to look at. In the short term with the detour, I think by the time we ratify any lasting change, the detour will be over. But I think we have problems there that are not going away too.
There's some lasting issues that I think we have to deal with over there. So.
Yep, good deal.
So that will be on future agenda items. And then moving on to, is there anything further on construction 2019 issues? Otherwise, that was, moving on to future agenda items, that was going to be a future agenda item for next month. Anything further that we should be thinking about for further agenda items? Otherwise, we'll find some things for you. Then with that, a motion to adjourn would be in order. There is a motion, Mary Karen, second. All in favor of said motion, say aye.
Aye.
We stand adjourned. Thank you very much.